kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic, where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, the martial arts podcast where I have martial conversations with my martial arts friends. And today I sit down with Kevin. Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kevin Deaver. I work in Ankeny Martial Arts at Ankeny, Iowa, just north of Des Moines, the capital for Iowa. I've been teaching martial arts for over 20 years, but have been involved for over 40 years. So glad to be here today.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I do this scheduling thing where it's online and it's kind of automated. It just works out better for everybody and reduces back and forth. And in the notes section, guests are allowed to say something or nothing. And Kevin, you chose to say studied for 40 years and ran a school for 20 years. So just old knowledge.
Yeah.
So the first question is always, how did you get started in martial arts?
It was my first marriage, had anxiety, as most young married couples do. Thought I needed to find a way to work it out. And I grew up in the Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee era. And so I was looking around and there wasn't a karate school, which was highly publicized in the area I was at. So we couldn't find one. Judo was the other thing. Didn't really want to do judo, just didn't kind of fit in school doing wrestling. And I saw an advertisement for Taekwondo. So I got started with Taekwondo in a Parks and Rec atmosphere.
Very cool. What has kept you going in martial arts for these 40 years?
What do they call it? The euphoria of working out.
Ooh, that's a good answer. You know what? I think that might be the first time that answer has come up.
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure that's the first time. I like that.
Oh, good. And you're around other people doing the same thing, building self-confidence. But for me, it was the atmosphere of being around other people, sharing something that we all love. And now once you get into owning in your own school, it's sharing it with others and seeing the difference it makes in their lives because you realize the difference it made in your life.
Absolutely. Well said. So, I've been trying to ask this question as quickly as I can, and the hope is that this is a podcast for martial artists. I'm very much aware that martial artists are who listen to this podcast, but the hope is that maybe there's somebody who's thinking about martial arts. They've been Googling it and this pops up on their feed. They watch a couple minutes and so in watching a couple minutes, we try and catch them early on. if there's somebody that's seeing this right now in any capacity that hasn't done martial arts but is thinking about doing it, what advice would you give them?
At least step in the door and try it. It never hurts. Almost every facility you know of in martial arts, especially, they have a free class. Go and give it a try.
Right.
That first step's the hardest. And if you get to one school
Excellent.
and it's not the right atmosphere, go to another one because not every school fits everybody.
Great. That's a caveat that I always give, is allow yourself to be wrong and allow yourself to try again, because it might be the atmosphere of the school, like you just said. It might be the actual instructor, and you and that person just don't vibe for whatever reason. It's okay to try something else. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we get back to martial arts, and I have been leading with my difficult question. So the podcast comes from a lot of different places. It's really a love letter to martial arts for me. Got to a point to where I was like, hey, I really wish that somebody was having conversations with these martial artists and asking them questions like I would ask. And the first three people that I thought to have on a podcast, if I were to start it, they're no longer with us. And that was enough to like light the fire. Like, I got to do it before, it's too late. And so then the other reason is, one of the reasons that we always teach is in part selfish. Like, I'm not saying as an instructor I'm totally selfish. Yes, I do it for the betterment of other people, and so that they look, feel, and can carry themselves in a better way. But also, it's because I'm working on something, and if I can't figure it out, but I give it to somebody else and I watch them figure it out, then I've figured it out. So that was the other part of the podcast, is like, I've got questions, I can get answers. This question, it starts with an omission that I recognize as a lifelong practitioner of martial arts. I am equal parts sadistic and masochistic, and I'm probably in the minority.
No, you're not.
Well, I say I'm in the minority, but everybody I've said that to laughs and understands exactly what I mean. But I recognize that most people that come through the dojo doors are not that. And so then the question is, Kevin, how do you teach a nonviolent person to speak the language of violence when it's necessary?
We just start with very basics, working on their confidence. It really does. That's
Mm-hmm.
how we do it. Getting them out there, working them out, compliment them when
Mm-hmm.
they need it, critique them if they need a little bit of that. But it's more about building that self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And then we always start with what everybody else tells, the basic blocking, hands up, protect
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Why? It's a nonverbal sign to parents and anyone around you, you need assistance. And then we'll
Mm-hmm.
add verbiage in a little later, like back off, or yell at them, stop. I don't feel comfortable. But the basics, getting them out there, working them out, hitting things, kids especially, they get in class and they get working out and hitting things. They just love that. And that's where we start. And we kind of build from there. Some stay 6 months, as well as I do. Some stay 9 months. Some stay for 3, 4, 5 years. The sadistic ones I find are the ones that like Hapkido, Aikido, Judo, Jujitsu. There's a little more pain involved in those arts.
Right. Sure. Or some of the stick arts I've found too.
Yes.
Those people like hit each other with sticks. Shout
Eskrima,
out to my
especially.
FMA fans. Oh, good. Kevin, what do you think the average martial arts practitioner neglects in their own practice?
We always seem to be working on the business and then cleaning, arranging, doing whatever you need to do to get the business going. Then our own lives as far as family. And then we regret our own training, or we
Mm.
neglect it, excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Speaking of that, you said you've owned a school for 20 years. And if history serves me correct, there was an event that has happened kind of recently that affected a lot of people that own martial arts schools. How did you manage to weather the COVID storm, sir?
Oh boy. Well, luckily we have a nice house where we have a room. I told my wife, I said, we got to get online. We have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to lose everybody. So we immediately, within 24 hours, we were online, contacting students, Zooming, and teaching classes. And I tell you what, Hapkido is the hardest class to teach on Zoom because you don't have a partner.
Right, right,
So it was like shadow boxing, and it actually worked pretty
right.
good.
That's good. Shadow boxing with Aikido. So is your school attached to your house, or
No,
did you
no.
just use a room out of your house?
We just used a room at the house. Actually worked pretty good.
I mean, everybody that seems to have weathered the storm of COVID did so in a whatever means necessary capacity. You know, because I know a lot of school owners where they had to close their school. Now they're thinking about opening up their school. I was in a weird spot because I didn't have a school. I had a nonprofit. I still kind of had the nonprofit where, and it's like transitional, but now I'm being pulled to open a school again. So I think this year I'm opening up a commercial.
No, we actually we closed it, and then we just got a hold of every student, said, "Hey, listen, we set up a schedule. We said, here's your class time. Join us by
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. We'll send you a link." And that actually worked really good. But we were teaching from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon, as much
Well,
as we
that's cool
could,
though.
trying to arrange classes for kids. So the hard, like I said, it was tough, but we made it.
Well, I also like the fact that individuals like yourself that were doing that, you're offering people like, hey, there's this big scary thing that's happening, but you still should take care of yourself. You still should work out. You still should move. So,
Yeah, the
what
unique part
advice do you
was,
have?
oh, if I
Oh,
could,
go ahead.
the
Go ahead.
unique part about that was we would do belt exams online because it was then the timing
Yeah.
of COVID. And what we did is we opened our front door. We stayed 10 feet back. We had a table up front with belts and certificates. The kids could come in. Everybody's wearing masks. You could still see each other. We had parents in tears because we were making that effort for their child. We even delivered belts to people with certificates, dropped them on their front door. We did whatever it took to make it work. And I think that's the biggest part of the success of staying through COVID. We did have people that quit. I mean, you're asking somebody to join you on a screen this big, and they're trying to use a phone or a small tablet. And we understood both sides of it. But the ones that stuck through it, they were in tears when they came back because it was something consistent their child could depend on. With everything else going on in the chaos, they had something that was consistent. So I got to say, God bless, it worked.
Absolutely. Well, it also is very martial art. As a martial artist, we're problem solvers. The problem was in front of you and you figured out a way to solve it. I cannot express how important that is to me that people like you kept doing that because it shows that, oh no, martial arts is not dead and it can evolve still. What advice do you give anybody that is a school owner, is thinking about a school, owning a school?
Talk to people, talk to other martial arts instructors that own schools, ask them advice, get it ahead of time because you don't know anything about business till you get into it. And then you're like, oh crap, maybe I should have learned this ahead of time or taken a college course or talked to somebody. Yeah, get as much information as you can from all the
Mm-hmm.
legal stuff to arranging your classes. I mean, find a mentor, somebody you can talk to.
Mm-hmm. Great answer. What is one thing that if you could give every martial arts student one thing, it can be a teaching, it can be a philosophy, it can be a concept, it can be a technique, what would it be?
I think always move forward, grit, fight for it, keep going, don't give up. I mean, how many people closed their businesses because of COVID? And some of it was I knew people that just said, I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Some had full time jobs, so they couldn't do it. You see both sides of it, but there's always a way to work it. I mean, even if you videoed something and sent it to your students to work out with, that would have been
Mm-hmm.
something. So never give up. Use that indomitable spirit we always talk about in martial arts and integrity. Always do it. I had an instructor the other day that was sharing something with me, something very similar to what one of the basketball coaches in Ames says. If you're going to do it, I'm not sure the exact phrase, but if you're going to do anything, always do it to your best. And that's what I would say
Mm-hmm.
to kids. Give it your best. If you fail, try again. Get up and keep going. Rocky philosophy.
So it appears, right, yeah, absolutely. It appears as though you're in a school, so you all have opened up a physical location now. Yeah.
We've had this
Yeah.
spot for 10 years. We actually started
Okay.
with a Parks and Rec position, working just a couple nights a week, and we grew. They luckily had a building that had a center space for like conferences and things, about 2,600 square feet. So they said, if you come in at 5, you can teach from 5 on. And so we taught martial arts that way for 10 years. We really did. And that was cool. They had a place to store equipment. They arranged all the classes. All I had to do was come in and teach. So about 2012, I went from a full-time baking position to teaching martial arts full-time. And it worked out really, really good. And actually 10 years ago, they condensed their buildings. So we lost the space.
Hmm.
They wanted to put us in a space that really wasn't conducive to training, really small. If you imagine about 1,800 square feet, the parents have to sit in the room with you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
linoleum floor, a kitchen. It echoes, just not good for the kids, let alone the parents. Off the street, bad lighting, kind of a bad location. And classes started dwindling. And I told my wife, I said, we got to do something. So we opened a physical location, and that seems to be working pretty good.
No, I like that a lot. And I wish you another 20 years of success in the same building. That'd be wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you have about 8 or 10 years martial arts experience on me. I'm sitting at 32, almost 33 years. What do you think your most valuable lesson in the tenure of 40 years has been?
Actually, they never give up. That's been the
Mm-hmm.
thing that just drives me. I mean, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
COVID, you had a choice. I could have closed the door. What would happen financially? You don't want to go bankrupt, but literally that's
Mm-hmm.
what would probably happen. And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to lose my business. I want to work my butt off to make it work and show people what martial arts can do for you and how that drive
Absolutely.
can push you. And it can work in any business. I mean, it really can. It can work in your family
Mm-hmm.
life. But that never give up attitude, how many people end up in divorce? I mean, happens all the time. Why? They give up.
Absolutely. How did martial arts help you when you were a baker?
Stress relief. No sleep and lots of stress relief.
Is it
Seriously,
no
that was
sleep
it.
to be a baker? Is there no
Oh,
sleep to be
man.
a baker? Yeah.
Oh, the hours were crazy. I would work 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., come home and eat lunch, take a nap, get up and go to class. I'd go to class around 4, get done about 6, stay up with the family till about 8, go back to sleep till about 1 in the morning. And it was that vicious cycle of very little sleep. Yeah.
Why are those the baker hours?
Actually, a lot of them are changing nowadays. I mean, that started happening in 2012. But, you can't have
Mm-hmm.
fresh bread if somebody's not there to make it. Well, if you're walking in the store at 7 a.m. and the baker walks in at the same time, how are you going to get a fresh loaf of bread?
I would never have thought about that. But I'm not a huge bread eater, I guess is why I
No,
wouldn't
but
have
that's
thought of that.
cookies, cakes,
Yeah.
they've got to be there
Yeah,
ahead of
yeah,
time to
yeah.
make it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It was a
That's
fun job.
impressive. It sounds fun but taxing in hopefully a rewarding capacity. So sounds like too much. How has martial arts helped you be a better husband?
Ooh, that's a good one. That same never give up attitude. I use that all the time. If there's an issue, we work it out. I met
Mm-hmm.
her in martial arts, which is kind of cool. And I figured any
Well, that
woman that
is
could
cool.
kick my butt, I deserve to marry.
Does she teach with you?
She did up till about 2 years ago. She got the point that some of arthritis causing issues, and she just finally said, enough is enough. When we came back from COVID, the student attitude was so different. I mean, there's a lot of, what do I want to say? Just the way the kids interact differently. I mean, there's a lot of disrespect, it seems like, after COVID compared to pre COVID. And she didn't want to put up with it. And I said, yes, dear, not a problem. I understand.
Wonder where that came from, where that shift happens.
You saw it years ago, I'm sure. I started to see it in the 80s and 90s. Uh, had a daughter
Yes,
graduate in 2001, and things changed then. It was like,
same.
oh, well, we need to talk about it. We need to stand in a corner. Every now and then when I was a kid, a SWAT never hurt anything. Boy, and you got the attention. Mom would tell you, Dad comes home, you're going to get it. And they meant it. Anymore,
Yeah.
they'll just look at their kid like, why are you doing that? And then the kid continues to do something. And you're like, it's just interesting. I had a situation, I'll share this with you. Young
Mm-hmm.
6-year-old came into class, tried a couple classes. We don't give them a belt when they start. We let them earn the belt, 3 or 4 classes in.
Okay.
Basic things, showing focus, respect, paying attention, listening, being respectful in class. and I talked to a young man, and he didn't earn it by his fourth class. And he came out, and I talked to mom standing out here in the entryway. And I said, listen, this is, he didn't earn the belt, and this is why. Threw himself on the floor, kicking and screaming. And all mom did was literally just look at him. And I looked at mom and I said, this I can't change. This I can do nothing about. That's something that happens at home. And all she did was look at him and said, let's go. Didn't discipline him, didn't say you need to get your butt up. And so that kind of attitude, that's what my wife hated. And she saw it
Hmm.
more and more, which I totally
Hmm.
understand. Totally different kids now.
I think the unfortunate fact is that the come on, let's go, and the not come back out of that story, you know? Like kids are going to act a certain way and they are going to test boundaries always. Us as humans, not just kids, humans are boundary testers. That's what we do. And when a boundary is not reinforced in a way that makes us realize it's a boundary, we continue to test it. But just the fact that the child was, man, I hate to say allowed to give up, especially because you're saying never give up, but
Right.
like that's really what it is. Like, oh, okay, that's not for you. Without getting into a lot of details, I will share that like I was born with a birth defect as a child. And so because of that, like when I was like 6, I wanted to do baseball. They were like, if the baseball hits him in the chest, it's not, he can't do baseball, And like, so like baseball was out. And then like the next thing I think was football. And they were like the same thing with tackling. And then I wanted to do wrestling, like collegiate style wrestling, and they were like, that's still probably. And I was 10 years old, and I was a friend of mine started martial arts, and I was like, I want to do that. And before my mom could say no, my grandfather was like, that's a good idea, let's do that.
Well, that's awesome.
I owe it to my grandfather that I got started, but and my mother was not allowing me to throw fits in the floor. So I was being disciplined, but I was also being guarded in a way because I was born with a birth defect, and she was worried that something would happen to me. Like, I get it. But
Yeah. We
yeah,
see kids with, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
We see kids with like club feet, 1 foot larger than the other,
Hmm.
one
Hmm.
leg long. All those kids come into martial arts because the other activities they can't get into, or they don't
Mm.
feel like they want to try them. We have a young girl who 1 foot larger than the other. And this is the only activity she feels she can do. She can't do dance. You don't want to buy
Mm.
2 different pair of shoes. Gymnastics makes it really tough. So totally understand.
I think that one of the things that I love about martial arts is that it is reliant on me. My performance is reliant on me. My performance is not like if I would have been in baseball or basketball or football or any of those things, the difference would be that I have to cultivate a team. And I think that cultivating the individual, there's a lot of good things about cultivating a team. And I think that in martial arts, we get most of those experiences in a proper school that's set up mindfully and has good class structure and a good environment. But you don't get the individual cultivation unless you're in something like martial arts that has individual cultivation.
I agree.
So,
Some of us, they're just scared to come in the door. You know, they're afraid to go try something. If this gives them enough confidence to go out and maybe try football or basketball, that's what it's all
mhm,
about.
mhm, absolutely, absolutely. Do, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, so I'm not going to say that. My assumption when I talk to certain people, like you kind of get a vibe and a feel for things and understand things. I have a lot of unique philosophies in martial arts, one of which is if I own a school and somebody owns a school down the street, we're not in competition with each other. You know, we're doing a different thing or the same thing in a different way. And so I like give my students leniency to flow and to go wherever. And, like if they want to learn another class over here, please learn the class and come back and show us what you've learned. Or maybe you like that better and that's what's for you. And I think I think there's a lot of people that run a school with a deficit mentality because we are unfortunately in this capitalist society where we have to pay for things, so it becomes a business instead of martial arts. But there are some people that figure out a way, and I think that you are one of those people. So, like, you can stop me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're one of those people that have figured out a way to cultivate and enrich the art while also running a business. And I wanted to ask you, like, if that's true, what do you think you're doing in order to achieve that goal? Like, my answer, based on what I've heard you say already, is just that you're very student driven. And if an instructor, if a sensei, a sifu, whatever title you want, has the students first, having that mentality is fostering of everything else, in my opinion. But
No, you're correct. One of the things I do, I worked really, really hard on, is knowing the student's name.
yes.
That even the first class, you introduce yourself, you go in and they work out in the class, and coming out when they come back that second class, if you can look at them and call them by name, that's huge. And it means a lot to the parents too. It's harder with the parents because the student,
Mm-hmm.
I can call him by name 6, 8, 10, 12 times in class, and that puts it
Mm-hmm.
in my head. But for them,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, he remembered me, versus maybe they
Mm-hmm.
go to football practice and they call you, hey, you over here. It's
Yeah.
totally different. And we try to create
Mm-hmm.
that family atmosphere. So, I come out, I don't just talk to the student, bring them over to mom and dad, and we can have a little chat and say how things are going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Says, doing great, hope to see you again tomorrow or next day. And that's it. Could get the family involved. So it's not just the student because who's paying for it? Mom and dad.
Right.
So if they're not involved, they feel like they're left out. So we're working extra hard this year. That was my number one goal, was to get more and more involved with the family, communicate better,
Mm-hmm.
communicate more, because they need that right now. It's that
Mm-hmm.
time of year where you need to communicate a little bit more than maybe average, as cold as it is, the weather, closings if you
Mm-hmm.
need to close because of the weather. We had the lights go out
Mm-hmm.
the other night, which was kind of cool. That was interesting. Sitting here and all of a sudden
While you were
it's black
teaching.
except for the, yeah. So we're sitting here about 3, 4 minutes. Okay. They come back on. Just happened to be an outage somewhere. But communicate, make sure, whether it's a text message, I tell them to get a hold of me anytime. If I'm in class, I won't answer. If I'm driving, I never answer. If I'm doing something outside, I won't answer, but I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So keep that
Mm-hmm.
communication open with the families as well. We're trying to build that relationship because let's face it, if the mom and dad aren't invested, the kid's not going to be invested.
Mm-hmm. Do you all do any like family classes where parents and kids work together, or what? Do you have any ways that
I
you're
haven't
building this
Adults in
communication?
Ankeny, for some reason, just don't seem to want to do too many martial arts, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
What we did the other night is we just invited the parents in to work with the kids, pads, holding pads, letting the kids hit gear, kick gear. They were showing them what they've been doing in class. And that philosophy, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
try at their test in March. So maybe this will come out about that same time.
Ooh,
You know,
ooh,
the
I
parents
like
can have them hold
that.
pads, whether it's a choke, a hold, whatever they're working on, the parents are going to be involved. I'm going to invite them in the room. We're even going to have the parents hold the boards this time. So for publicity, sorry, there's nothing better than putting that out to let
For
people
sure.
know, whether it's Facebook, Google, whatever. They see mom and dad holding a board for their kid. They're like, that looks like it's really good. I think I want to go take my child there. Plus, it keeps parents from doing what? While their kid's in class. So that's kind of the idea. They're a little bit more involved that way. They're really kind of getting more and more invested. And the parents love it. I have a mom that sits out here and kind of Tuesdays and Thursdays answers questions, helps with any other thing going on, gear, whatever. And she says the parents just love it. And so I said, then we're going to do it on test days. So we're going to do it once a month, no matter what. And then test day, the parents are
Mm-hmm.
going to be in with their child.
That I like that a lot, and it also sounds like you almost have like a band mom, like
Yep. Yep. She actually
yeah.
has been doing this for about 2 years. She sits out here on a
Did
computer. Any questions, if she needs something that she can't answer, she'll type it for me and send it in an email and I'll get back to them. But it's a great way to invest with the students because I'm kind of a one-man shop. If I'm in teaching, I
right.
can't be out answering questions. So this helps immensely.
Yeah. Did she volunteer for that?
No, I put out a little advertisement,
Oh,
and she was the
even
one that
better. That's
answered.
cool.
So, yeah, I sent it to my
That's
student
really
base
cool.
first,
Hmm.
rather than somebody off the street. And she says, "Hey, I
Yeah.
can take this and put it towards kids' college." So I pay her
Yeah.
a little bit of money, and she's like, "Great."
That's a brilliant idea, sir. Like,
Well, if you're
that's
teaching
great.
by yourself, how are you going to answer those questions out in the? I'm lucky I have a space for families and parents to sit and watch. Who's going to answer
Hmm.
those questions
Hmm.
when you're in class?
Hmm.
Had to do
That
something.
is
My wife
also
didn't want to do it. Nothing against her, but I totally understand.
right. Right. No, I get it too. I get it too. I am least looking forward to the time in life where arthritis kicks in. That's the dread of martial arts, is that we get to that point. So much sympathy extended to your wife. So then the other side of that coin, the two biggest perspectives that I'm nailing down. One is that we're not in competition with the other martial arts school that's down the street. And the reason that I say that is because, like, I think that the capitalist mentality has done a disservice to things like martial arts, not just martial arts specifically, but things like martial arts, because it doesn't allow us to build stronger community. And I think that building a stronger community is better for martial arts. The other thing is the ability for an instructor to maintain being a student, like always learning. Now, whether that be I'm always learning from my students, whether it be that I'm always going to another instructor, learning something, trading something, etc., etc. Do you do that? If so, share some tips on how you maintain being a student.
Seminars are great. Go find, if it's a
Yes.
jujitsu seminar and you want to go see, go to a seminar.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest with them. Tell them what you do and say, I want to learn. Maybe I'll be your
Mm-hmm.
student someday, type of thing. But never be
Mm-hmm.
afraid. I've gone to cane seminars, Hapkido seminars, been to a jujitsu seminar. They're all cool. You'll learn something, and you'll see that's how my art works with that art, and that art works with this
Mm-hmm.
art. So you get to see the circle of how we all kind of start in the same place. We're all offering the same thing, just a different
Mm-hmm.
menu. But yeah, I would say go to seminars. There's nothing better than that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll meet people.
Do you have? Go ahead.
No, you're right. You'll meet
Do you?
people. That's huge.
Well, it's similar to church fellowship.
Yes.
Like whatever your religion is, you have two options. You can sit at home and read your text and pray or meditate or what have you alone by yourself, or you can go to the church, temple, monastery, what have you, and with people that think similarly on the same topic, you can fellowship with them, and the fellowship itself elevates whatever practice or study or spiritual venture that you're doing. And that doesn't just apply to religion, it applies to all things you know
I've been to karate seminars. I mean, I'm a taekwondo guy. Been to karate
right.
seminars. They're cool. I mean, you get, like I said, you get to see where we all blend and we all
Hmm.
start from the same place. Just a different menu, like I said.
Are you Korean style taekwondo or American style taekwondo?
I call myself American freestyle right now.
Ugh,
Well, the reason is have you ever heard of Empower Kickboxing with John Graydon?
that sounds yes.
Okay. It's based on his system. The self defense
Hmm.
we take out of our Hapkido program and put in, but otherwise, it's his system. I can't say enough about it.
Hmm.
And we tried that coming out of COVID because I couldn't have a kid hold still, stand up straight, hold still for five,
Hmm.
10 seconds. They couldn't do it. Plus, you look at today's kids, anxiety, they have ADD, ADHD, there's other disorders as well. And that has worked so much better for us than traditional Taekwondo. And it's because of
Hmm.
the memorization versus his version of application. They love it. They get out, hit things, hit things, hit things. They have a specific combo they're working on. They can remember that. We tried drilling some forms as a test last year, 12 movements. They hated it. We did it a
Hmm.
fun form. We made up a form, did a fun form. And they're like, God, do we have to do this? Okay, we'll go
Hmm.
back to combos. And it's just
Hmm.
kind of the mindset today versus 20 years ago.
Man, I love hearing that. And I do think that we as martial artists owe it to not only our students, but also to the art to be able to pivot and adapt and meet the needs of the students so that the art continues.
Right.
But the old man in me is like, but you got to do forms, you know?
Well, and we do have a traditional taekwondo class,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's fine. That's for that, just for that. We have kids moving into that program out of the other one, and that's good. But I wanted something that any kid working in the door, what do they want? Self-defense. This gives them that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're looking at a form like, how does a form give me self-defense? And and I know it's in there, but for a child to understand, that takes a lot more explaining, a lot more understanding down the road. Let's just do this. We're going to give them their fast fix. If they stay 6 months and they get self-esteem, go try wrestling, go try basketball. That's what it's about. If they're being bullied and they have enough self-confidence to walk out the door, and like I said, if they put their hands up and say, back off, that's what it's about. And I think as martial artists, that's what we're missing because we think everybody that walks in the door should be a black belt. They're not going to be.
Mm,
Statistics, they're not going to be. But why not give
for
them
sure.
something they can use? And the other reason
Mm-hmm.
I got into this, I said, I didn't like the way I was taught traditionally. I said, there's a better way to teach others, or at least a different way. I wanted something that was more family friendly. If my old
Mm-hmm.
school, you walk in the door, if you were late, you did push ups. Well, who drove to
Mm-hmm.
class? It usually wasn't the kids, it was the
Mm-hmm.
parents. Parents are running late from work or traffic or what. The kids got punished. And I'm like, that's not fair to that poor kid. Well, they can talk to their
Mm-hmm.
parents. Okay, whatever. And you can't treat kids that way anymore. So
Right.
that's why we do what we do. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
give them the self confidence they need. That's what they're there for. We're solving their
For
problem.
sure. Absolutely. I love meeting the students exactly where they are. I think everybody that has ever ran a school or taught martial arts is very guilty of meeting a student and thinking that's my next black belt. And the actuality is that that might be your next yellow belt. And that's it.
Yeah.
It might be your next no show. It might be your next. I asked about like the Korean style taekwondo versus American style taekwondo because, and I don't know every minute detail of the history, but Korean style taekwondo I have learned through this podcast is so incredibly close to Japanese taekwondo, or not taekwondo, Japanese karate in
Very
the
similar.
um in the origins and genesis of the system. So, like you saying, I've taken karate seminars and it works with the taekwondo. It's like, well, they're really close.
Block is a block is a block, right?
That's right. That's right. The human body can only move in so many different directions. We only have from an anatomical standpoint, we only have so many different things we can do. There's a plethora of ways that individuals can do them based on size, structure, what have you. But
So can we get
it's
back
not
to your
like some.
question about getting others involved? Because we actually tried to
Yeah.
do that a couple years ago. We had a grandmaster from another organization north of us in Ames come down and he said, let's get martial arts in your city and get
Uh
into a
huh.
meeting and see if we can get together and help each other out. And he went to
Huh.
every facility. You know what they said? Get
What?
out of my building. What? And we wonder what's wrong with us. Imagine if you had everybody in your city and you have 5, 10, 15 martial arts schools have a huge tournament. What are you there for? You're there for the students.
For
You're not there for you.
right. Well, a tournament specifically, you're there for the students
Yeah.
and for their families.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'm
like
like,
there's
that's
a
stinking
hundred people
thinking.
compete. Yes, stinking thinking, indeed. If you host a tournament, you have 100 people that are there to compete. How many families? How many extra set of eyes do you have at that point? And that's who you're there for the students, and you're there for those families so that they can be proud of their kid or nephew or niece or any of that, or so that they can go, hey, what you guys have got built here is really something special. I want to be a part of.
I've seen families at tournaments. One kid's in karate, the other kid's in kung fu. I mean, and think of the exposure martial arts schools get at tournaments. Stinking thinking.
Wonder why they, yeah, wonder why they say no. I know why they say no, and it's because if I say yes and somebody sees something that they like at another school, I've lost a student. Like that's the very, very basic mentality, and I'm boiling it down to be far more simple than it is. But that's why. And I think that it comes from I can't lose that $100 a month because I'm barely making it now. And it's unfortunate that we're thinking about that as opposed to I've ran schools, I've paid bills with martial arts before, but there have also been times where it was difficult to eat or
Well, yeah.
money was tight because that's part of it. But never, even in the moments when money was tight, did I think this student's about to leave me because they want to learn jujitsu at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I have always thought, great, this student's found this thing that they want to do next. And I hope that they can do it.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so we've touched on a lot of stuff that has upset me, and I'm happy that you are willing to have that conversation with me. Let's go with the one other thing then, the internet, because I think it's the other bad part of the martial arts community. And the reason that I think that is because, let's say Kevin films himself doing a technique or a little quick teaching and he puts it online. When he puts it online, he's going to have dozens of people in the comment section saying, that won't work. That's not how I do it. This, that, and the other. Right. And I've never understood that perspective. And I've made a call on this podcast that as anybody's watching this, if you see somebody that posts a video and you think that it won't work or you want to argue against it, you should only be allowed to do so in video format where you are doing the technique your way and explaining the difference. Because what I really don't like is that won't work. That's my opinion. It's a dead end and it doesn't allow for anybody to learn.
Yeah. Hapkido has taught me so much. I got into combat Hapkido with Grandmaster Pellegrini, actually in 2005. Been there 21 years with him. And watching him do a technique, and then you try to mimic that technique, two different bodies, two different body styles, two different sets of physical attributes. Nobody can do it exactly like someone else. If this person's out there doing their best, awesome. It might be different for them. That's what helped me figure things out. Because you do look at stuff and go, yeah. And then you watch some of these guys doing forms on the internet and you're like, whoa, okay. Well, what I always go back to when I see this, I go, remember, he's doing his best, not your best. And I think that's where we fail. Why critique a technique? I have students that we fail on techniques. I said, so you're not supposed to sit there and go, I got to make this work. You're supposed to be able to move to something else. We tease them around the facility. We call it stand jitsu. What do they do on the ground? They roll around on the ground, right? They're looking for the right opportunity, whether it's an arm bar, a choke, a leg. What are we doing standing up? Same thing. But we get in that stagnant position of, we have to make this work. We have to make this work. We have to make that arm bar work. Heck with the arm bar. Go to something else because you're not going to have time in a real situation. So just like jujitsu flowing on the ground, we tease people stand jitsu. Well, we're standing and doing a similar situation.
Kevin, what do you think's next for you in your martial arts journey? Are you going to pick up another style? Are you going to, you mentioned cane. Have you done Irish stick?
No, we used the cane off of Combat Hapkido. They have a cane system. They have a ground survival system. They have a tactical pressure point system. So I'm like, I never can worry about getting more material or learning more. They have a huge system.
I've never heard about the ground survival in combat Hapkido. Tell me about that.
He's associated with David Rivas, and I believe he's in Arizona right now. But yeah, they have their own system. You can learn to be an apprentice instructor an instructor. You can do it in all of them as well. Tactical pressure points, you can do it in cane. It's pretty cool. There's a lot there
That's
they
interesting.
offer.
You'll have to share with me some information on getting in touch with them. That piques my
Yeah,
interest. Great. I asked about Irish Stick because I interviewed Bernie Letty, who is the current chieftain of Doyle Irish Stick Fighting, and I am going to start Irish Stick Fighting. I was going to start last
cool.
year, but my day job kind of got in the way with overtime. And so now that we're on the other side and I'm readjusting to normal life, I will pick that up.
That's cool.
I keep these at about an hour. Is there anything that you didn't get to say that you would like to say? What questions didn't I ask?
I think as martial artists, we just need instructors, school owners. We need to be more open minded. We need to be
Mm,
more community based. We tend to think, well, if I'm going to go to the school, then I'm going to charge for these lessons. You know what? We just
yes.
need the exposure. We've been invited to a couple family nights around. We're just there to help. And the lady's like, you don't want to do anything? And I said, I just want to go in this shirt and share and help you with whatever you need help with. She says, well, can you put like an obstacle course together? And I said, sure. Can you do a demonstration? I said, demonstrations just don't go over very well. I said, but more
Yeah.
than happy to do something simple for you. But we just want to be out there to help and share. And I think that's where we miss it. Too many of us want, let's see, where's my return on that investment? Why not just being in the community, showing your face?
Well,
And I think that's where we miss it.
the biggest word there, share. Like that. We can't emphasize that word enough. Share. Kevin, if you would like to be found, where can the people find you?
It's really weird, people. You'll love this. I live in Ankeny, Iowa. So
Mm-hmm.
years ago, when I wanted a website, I said, why not do AnkenyMartialArts.com?
Mm-hmm.
Because when they Google it, what are they going to Google? Ankeny Martial Arts. And that's kept me towards the top of Google since then. So
That's great.
that's an easy way to do it. AnkenyMartialArts.com, info@AnkenyMartialArts.com. Super, super simple. My phone's there. They can text me, email me, whatever they want to do. I try to keep it ultra simple. I can't tell you how many people are getting bullied nowadays, and that's the sad part. We have parents bringing their kids in. They're getting bullied on the bus. They're getting bullied in school. And I'm sure it was probably the same way for you when you grew up. You bullied somebody. You worked it out. You worked it out pretty fast. Maybe you went outside, you had a fight after school, and it was done and over with. You shook hands. But today it's so different, and I feel for these kids because parents come to you
Mm-hmm.
wanting to solve that problem. So that's the hard thing these days. Poor kids are getting
Mm-hmm.
bullied, but it happened in our age too. Just they handle it differently now.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think the best thing that happened because of COVID is there were a lot of instructors, not just martial artists, but this is a martial arts podcast and martial arts is heavy on my mind, so that's what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of martial artists that thought one way, and then when they weren't allowed to teach, they were like, the only way I can teach is by doing so online right now. And so it opened the world up. They found, oh, if I'm teaching online, I can teach students that normally I couldn't teach. So it made things more vast. And I think that the biggest disservice that COVID did was to the kids. It was to the kids' detriments because their social lives were on pause. And there's every kid that went through COVID as a kid in some capacity has a gap in their social experience or their social ability. And I think that like what you're touching on is the blowback or the result of that. And I hope we can get them back in the schools in a way that, they can get those social skills back.
I know a lot of kids fell behind, not just that. I mean, think, what do you want to say, academically?
Yeah.
We had several that ended up getting tutors afterwards because they fell so far behind. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I understand. We had several students that give up because, I can't afford you and a tutor. So I would
Yeah.
try to work it out with them. They're like, well, we just can't do it. So I'll give you tuition free for 2 months, while you pay for the tutor. Keep him involved. He needs that involvement. And it got to be about money. I'm sure a lot of people fell behind. If they couldn't get to work, what did they do?
Right.
Tough
It's
time.
unfortunate. Right. Kevin, I thank everybody for sitting down and having a conversation with me. First and foremost, thank you for your time. I know time is a precious commodity that we have so little of. And so I am very appreciative of you spending that time with me. But secondly, and more importantly, because you've had this conversation with me, you're now part of my martial arts journey, whether you like it or not. And I cannot
That's
thank you
awesome.
enough for that.
Thank
I
you.
want to thank everybody that watched, listened, or a combination of. I hope you got something out of it. If nothing else, I hope you got out of it tenacity. Keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Keep
Yes. Never give up.
and never give up. And the moniker of the show, keep kicking.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I got to meet somebody new, and who knows, maybe someday we'll run into each other.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Last year started the year of travel and extended fellowship. I've always been in fellowship in the martial arts, but there were moments in my life, one when I was 18, one when I was 20-ish, where it was a lot of travel, and now we're back to more travel. So traveling for martial arts has become the thing. 2026 and beyond is going to do that. So I will connect with you in some capacity. I'm not sure
Awesome.
what, but yeah.
Can I share one piece of philosophy with you? We
Yes,
had a
please.
gentleman several years ago stopped into town. He was in town for a week to visit his father who was ill, was a martial
Hmm.
artist, a high ranking. And he says, I just want to
Hmm.
come and work out. Can I do that? And I said, sure. And he looked at me and he said, are you sure that's okay? I said, I don't care what your rank is. If you're here not going to interrupt class, you just want to work out, I'm fine with that. No one else in town told him he could do that. We got to pull our heads out of our rear ends and have a different mindset.
Indeed. Indeed.
You know,
Absolutely.
how much did he learn by coming? How much did I learn from him by his visit? The man came back two
Well,
years in a row and he gave me a complete
not just
set of the ITF encyclopedias for Taekwondo as a thank you.
how wonderful.
I
How
didn't ask
wonderful.
for it. He did it because we allowed him to come in and train. Now think of the benefit
Mhm.
we all get from that.
But also the lessons that are not learned because they're not taught, they're just expressed in those moments of
Hmm.
opening up, being open minded, open hearted in a way that, I am welcome here at least. So,
Yeah, his father was sick. I'm
vastly.
sure it was a way for him to work out and stress relief.
Mhm. Absolutely. I appreciate that. What a wonderful closing sentiment. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you.